Hi everybody, Gary here with another true story for you. And remember, just because it's a true story does not mean it actually happened. This one may have happened about 200 years ago, when an Irishman came to America to find his fame and fortune. Okay, mostly fortune. So he went out west so he could hunt, so he could trap, and pan for gold. And so he goes out and he runs across another trapper. Now that trapper happens to know the local Native Americans. We're going to call them tribe number one. And so he introduces the Irishman to tribe number one. And tribe number one's going to go out on a hunting expedition. And the Irishman has to go along because he feels like it's safer to go with them because he won't get lost. And they see the rifle that he has and they think, well, if there's trouble, it'd be nice to have him around too. So he goes off with them on their hunting trip. And this way, he doesn't get lost. They have an extra person there in case there's trouble. Well, there kind of was trouble. A couple of months into the hunt, a winter bear, one that's just absolutely starving, one that has not eaten and it's not going to make it through the winter. It's desperate. It comes out of its cave, and it sees one of the Native Americans, and so it's running after him. Well, the Irishman picks up the rifle, aims toward to the Native American, and the Native American kind of steps to the side, and he shoots at the bear. So the Native American turns around, sees the bear, and realizes the Irishman just saved his life. And that's the kind of friend you don't forget. If somebody keeps you from being eaten by a bear, that's the kind of person you want to keep around. Fortunate for the Irishman, because about 2 weeks later, he was walking along a cliff, and he was watching what he was hunting and not watching where he was walking. So he fell off of the cliff, and he mangled his leg. It was cut open. And so they took him back to their tribe, back to the village, so they could possibly patch him up and get him to live. They really didn't think he would live, but when they got him there, the medicine man said, if we can keep this from being infected, I think he'll live. So there was a lady there that was pretty good with nursing people back to health. She had a couple of kids, and she had room for him in her teepee. Now, sadly, the reason she had room is that her husband had been killed in a war party about 2 years prior to that. So, but when she found out what he had done about saving the guy he had saved, it was actually her cousin. So she decided she would take care of him, and that's what she did. He was there for about 6 weeks, and of course the hunting party came and went as they needed to. And after 6 weeks, it was pretty much determined he was going to live. But whether he walked again or not, well, that was a different story. That was still something that they were concerned about. And he said, I feel more at home here with these people than I've felt at home with anybody in this world. In all of my travels, I've never felt more at home, more welcome, more satisfied. And he said, if I can get to where I can hunt again and be able to provide for her, I will marry this woman and I will be a father to her children. That's what he said in his mind. But what he did with his body was he worked every day to get to where he could walk. And he hadn't quite got there yet, but he had gotten, and he did show her that he could stand up on his own. So he stood up, and he got the rifle, and he tried to practice walking. And every step was just excruciating pain, shooting up his side. But he was determined, so he did the best he could. As the hunting party had gone out the day before, it was a bad timing when one of the young Native Americans ran back into camp saying, there's a war party from, let's call them tribe number two, and they're heading this way. And they said, are you sure it's a war party? He said, yes. The ponies are painted, the faces are painted. They're serious, they mean business, and they can fight. So when the Irishman understood what was going on, he turned to the woman and he said, I'll never be able to make it walking with you, and I'll just slow you down. So you take the children and you go with these other older people and you help them. You get them up and hide them in the mountains to a spot that they had designated in case of trouble to go there so that the hunting party would know where they're at when they came back. So she said, what will you do? And he said, well, I can't make it that far, but I can make it out to the field. And she said, what are you going to do then? He said, well, they're going to kill me anyway, so I'm going to go out there and slow them down. Maybe take one or two of them out, give them a little something to think about. And she understood. She didn't really want to see him die, but what else could she do? She had 2 children. She didn't want them to die either. And this was the only chance for her children to live and for the man that she had been nursing back to health to pay her back a little bit. And she understood that. So she headed out with the older folks to take him to safety. And he got his rifle, and he started taking one step at a time. She actually helped him get his pistols on before she left. That's how weak he was. So he got out to the field after 20 or 30 minutes, and by that time the war party had shown up. About 6 horses broke off when they saw him, and they came toward him. And he saw that 2 of the horses had pretty young fellows on it, and he knew they're going to be eager for glory. They're going to be the first 2 to come. And when they do, they're going to be the first 2 to die. He said, I'm going to shoot the first one with the rifle, and then I'm going to start reloading, and they're going to think that that's the only thing that I've got. And when the second one gets here, I'm going to shoot him with my pistol, and I'm going to drop the pistol. I'm going to continue to reload the rifle. When the third one gets here, I'm going to shoot him with my other pistol, and he's going to go down. And then I'm going to finish loading this rifle, and the fourth one I'm going to shoot with the rifle, and by that time the fifth one will get here, and I will cut him with my knife after I trip his horse. But that's not what happened, because tribe number 2 really wasn't coming to raid tribe number 1. They were looking for a third tribe. They were trying to do a retaliatory strike. They had a tribe number 3, shall we say, had come against tribe number 2, stolen their horses, kidnapped some people, and they were going to go make sure they paid them back and rescued their loved ones. And that's why they were so serious and dressed ready with a large war party. But they came up and they talked to him. They told him what they were doing. He said, well, you know, I actually saw some folks about 10 miles or 12 miles from here, or he had heard talk of it, rather. So he told them, and he was really happy to see that when they came up toward him, they came up slowly, not aggressively. So he didn't actually have to kill anybody. He didn't have to shoot. They just came up and started talking. And they asked him, why are you standing here? And he said, well, I thought you were going to attack this tribe. And they said to him, it's not your tribe. He said, it will be. So after talking to him a bit, 4 of them broke off and went back to the main war party. 2 of them took pity on the poor old Irishman and actually carried him back to the teepee, which I thought was very nice of them. And they respected him, and every time they saw him out hunting or at any area around where they were getting together, sometimes they did that. And they would always say hello to him, and when they talked about that tribe, they always talked about him and his bravery. They didn't realize that he really didn't expect to live, and when you're in that state of no chance of living, what do you got to lose? So his bravery really came from the fact that he knew he could do some good in this world, but he couldn't stay in it much longer. That's what he thought, at least. Well, afterwards, the lady he wanted to marry, her children, the older folks, the other women and children came back, and eventually the hunters came back too. So the story was told, and everybody kind of patted him on the back. And as I really don't know that he was able to walk again, but I have to hope, and I have to believe that he was eventually able to walk again, to be able to hunt, and became a husband to that woman and a father to those children. That's what I have to believe, though I don't know that to be true. Anyway, that's another true story for you. I'm Gary, and I hope you have a very lovely day. Thanks.